funny. Look around, tell me what do you see? A lunatic now, get like me. It's a rap by the count of 3, and it's all being filmed on Shock TV. Yeah, it's me, I'ma do my best to rip to your chest, mangle your flesh, dangle your neck, fatten my check. I don't really care if I got your respect. I just slaughter, don't be bothered. Watch where you step, it might be hot water. You oughta pay me now, cause right now it's about to go down. You gotta get paid, more cash, I'm out of this game. It's crazy, I get more money by killing these dudes now, ain't that funny? That's right, it's death on sight. It don't matter who's wrong or right, I just might catch you slipping. Getting paid is my intuition and my ambition. It's the rip the city of the siege, more death, more cheese. Gotta get the paper, reach Jamaica, and these boss I'm the Undertaker. And ain't no shortage, I can't be laid off. In fact, rest in chaos. You gotta get paid, more cash, I'm out of this game. It's crazy, I get more money by killing these dudes now, ain't that funny? Look around, tell me what do you see? A lunatic now, get like me. It's a rap by the count of 3, and it's all being filmed on Shock TV. Yeah, it's me, I'ma do my best to rip to your chest, mangle your flesh, dangle your neck, fatten my check. I don't really care if I got your respect. I just slaughter, don't be bothered. Watch where you step, it might be hot water. You oughta pay me now, cause right now it's about to go down.
Hello and welcome to another video from the channel. Today I'll be taking a look at Half-Life 1, a genre-defining masterpiece considered title on Steam today. Unlike previous games, I went years without hearing about Half-Life 1 and mostly heard about its sequel, Half-Life 2, and that apparently the series didn't know how to count to the number 3. Then, sometime in I want to say 2018, I heard of a game called Black Mesa, a full-on remake in the Source engine that caught my attention, and when I found out it was a Half-Life remake, needless to say, my interest was piqued. But why was my interest piqued in this 27-year-old game? Geez, this game is old! Well, let's get into the hazardous environment suit, grab the versatile crowbar, and navigate the resonance cascade of Black Mesa and try to answer just how good is the masterpiece, Half-Life.
Don't hate me, 'cause I'm gorgeous, Freeman. Maybe if you got rid of that old yee-yee-ass HEV suit, you'd get some bitches on your dick, Or better yet, maybe Alex will call you head crab ass if she ever stops fucking with that Vortigaunt or scientist she fucking with. Freeman.
Extreme heat damage detected.
Ooh, honey.
Okay, so I didn't grow up with Half-Life like many people may have. My first exposure to the series came about with the orange bots for Xbox 360, and I had absolutely no fucking idea what was going on with Half-Life 2 Episode 1. If that name is confusing,
I know the feeling.
anyway, so that was the first time experiencing the series myself, and, well, I was not enthralled in it. The grounding gun was friggin' awesome though, but what I did hear about Half-Life wasn't the first game, like I said, it was mostly the second one. And it was during, I want to say, the show called Cheat. It was a sister show to Let's Play, if I remember, on the twice-defunct G4 network. I'm just gonna show my age now. And that brief moment on TV stuck with me until I got the orange box many years later. But why was I suddenly interested in the first game? Well, that would have credit towards, like I mentioned earlier, the remaster, remake, or arguably its remake, Black Mesa, and I absolutely love Black Mesa and enjoy it immensely. After playing that, I really got interested in the Half-Life universe and also found out the fervor that goes into the wait for Half-Life 3. But who made this game? Well, if you don't know, it was made by Valve, the guys behind many other defining games like Team Fortress 2 and Counter-Strike. Ironically enough, Counter-Strike was also originally a mod for Half-Life until they hired them. Among many others, and most notably these days, the PC marketplace known as Steam. Now, let us pray to the PC god Gabe Newell.
Praise Gavin, let him live a long, healthy life. Also, when the fuck is Half-Life 3?
I know that Valve released Half-Life Alyx and it was an amazing VR game and all that, but I want more than 30 seconds of plot moving forward from Half-Life 2, Episode 2's cliffhanger, damn it! Went off on a bit of a tangent there. Anyway, this was also Valve's very first game, so how'd they do? Well, aside from being considered one of the greatest games of all time, revolutionary design in the FPS genre, and was a surprise hit that did very well for a first dev game, with over 400,000 copies sold by 1999, back then was very good for a first game, and getting up to $16 million in revenue and even making it into the Guinness World Records for a bit. To say that Half-Life left a mark on the industry would be an understatement, and I'd argue that what Half-Life did carried over to many FPS games we gamers have these days. What exactly? Well, first is how the game starts. By 1998, most FPS games pretty much did the Doom formula. Not much story aside from what is in the manuals to introduce people to it, and not really a why there's creatures attacking in-game, just run and gun, boomer shooter goodness. Not knocking Doom, Doom is fantastic, and without Doom in previous games like Wolfenstein, we wouldn't have Half-Life. Half-Life instead puts players on a monorail to start, showing the Black Mesa facility and the surrounding environment that may or may not be sanctioned as normal. And though players play as the mute Gordon Freeman, Gordon serves as a perfect vessel to get players involved and immersed in the scenario in Half-Life. I personally couldn't say how many times I jumped when I got attacked by something because of how engrossed and engaged I got into the game. Also, something I wasn't aware of was that the music in Half-Life would be really damn good. They don't stay too long, unfortunately, but when the music hits, oh man, does that make what happens during these segments and all that happens in them so satisfying. What kind of sucks, though, is that while the music is great, it doesn't stay for very long, and will stop after a bit, and will even carry over if you die. So if you like the music, you're not going to be listening to it very long, unfortunately, so just go listen to it a bunch on YouTube, I guess. Still, the music is fantastic, and the sound design is great too, with very clear voice audio that makes it easy to hear the characters and most of the narrative going on throughout the game. Though if someone is hard of hearing and needs subtitles most of the time, like I can be, too bad there are no subtitles, so you gotta listen with your more ears! I have no idea what I'm saying. And though Half-Life entered into my life very late, 27 years later, and I'm an old fart now, I'm glad I found this series to play, and should also thank Gordon Freeman's alleged son or real-life model, the Act Man, for reinforcing my interest in playing the original game.
Dr. Gordon, I don't suppose you could help me pry open this box.
But how does a precursor to so many FPS games hold up to its younger peers? Well, that's where the gameplay and environments really come in. And though when compared to games set like Call of Duty and Halo, there's a smaller pool to play around with in Half-Life, what Half-Life uses with great effect in its set gameplay.
Now, say my name.
Gordon Freeman.
You're goddamn right.
Unlike Doom, Halo, or even Call of Duty, players take control of the scientist named Gordon Freeman, a gruff, old-looking, nerdy man that is just doing his regular old job at Black Mesa Research Facility with scientists that may or may not be safe to be around the laboratory areas.
Dr. Freeman, please. We're the #1 research facility in the entire country. We know how to use safety equipment.
Fine.
I have a sneaking suspicion that it's more of the latter. After getting into the hazardous environment vehicle, the orange suit that seems to be missing something rather important.
Where's the helmet?
Oh, it doesn't have one. Don't worry, we've done extensive testing. It's perfectly safe.
No, that's like 90% safe at most. I mean, it's called the Hazardous Environment Suit. Who did that?
I voted against it.
If I rode a motorcycle wearing only that suit, I'd be breaking the law in 20 states. And you want me to wear it into a room where we shoot poorly aimed lasers at a rock to try and tear apart the fabric of reality.
Is when Half-Life starts to show some things of interest. The HEV keeps track of not only health, but also has a shield bar. These function similar to how Doom did its health pads or charge pads for armor, with the difference having stations to keep these up in order to survive the various creatures and enemies that are in the Black Mesa facility. And since the shield doesn't recharge like in Halo, it's better to be smarter about encounters than barreling through them. Which is what I'd like to say I usually did, but that'd be a lie. On the plus side is that Half-Life's checkpoints and save system is pretty fast, making it feel like anytime that I died, it was more my fault, not really the game's. Aside from the suit being a little bit different for Freeman, he can run, jump, crouch, and shoot like a typical FPS character, so if there's any concern in controls, not to worry, it's a tried and true movement system and works for the game's combat and numerous platforming segments that it does really well. And the swimming mechanics are pretty functional too, with a fairly simple oxygen system to keep track of. And since this is a shooter, obviously there's going to be guns and stuff, right?
Obvious.
We got a pistol, shotgun, submachine gun, revolver, grenades, satchel charges, laser trip mines, rocket launchers, and hunting crossbow for the fairly normal weapons that you'd find. Then there's the more sci-fi weapons, the Tau cannon firing beams rapidly while also sounding like a lightsaber for some reason, while also acting like a handheld Gauss cannon, with its ammo pool being shared with the gluon gun, basically a destructive beam weapon that deletes enemies. I wish I was joking about that part, but when you use the gluon gun, the enemies seem to just pop out of existence. Then there's the alien weapons like the Hornet gun that fires homing rounds with unlimited ammo that recharges over time. If it looks familiar, it's actually pretty similar to the Needler in Halo. And apparently Snarks, these little bug-like creatures, which I didn't find in my playthrough somehow, that home in on enemies until they start attacking Freeman. Now, these may sound pretty basic and not very impressive aside from the alien and beam weapons, but what makes the weapons different is that Half-Life has these secondary fire functions for a majority of the weapons. The pistol has a rapid fire function, the shotgun can use 2 rounds to fire a powerful blast, the SMG can launch grenade launchers, the rocket launcher has a homing toggle feature, and the hunting crossbow can zoom in for precise shots and happens to be the best weapon to use underwater. Having secondary functions may not sound like a very big thing, but you gotta remember that this was back in '98. This was very new back then. And having these secondary functions for the weapons gives more versatility to what would have been a pretty standard but functional FPS game. And I couldn't leave out the iconic thing that made Half-Life really stand out: the crowbar. Now, the crowbar seems useful for only bashing enemies. It's actually versatile for many things, from breaking grates and breaking boxes throughout the game. Which breaking boxes is very important to survive since boxes can hold ammo, health pads, and power chargers, since the stations can be pretty sparse between the levels. And these levels can be pretty big, but they're pretty fun to explore if you know what you're doing. The crowbar also is another way to show that Gordon isn't a soldier or anything like Doom Guy. He's just a normal dude doing his job and happens to be fighting enemies with tools and weapons that he finds around the complex while surviving a survival horror setting. Why does that sound so familiar? Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Anyways, Half-Life may be pretty bare bones by today's standards, but to be fair, most of the things that FPS games have now could arguably be found to have started back here, which innovated from several previous games in its genre. But if the controls are still a concern, Half-Life does have a training course that fully explains how the controls work and the main mechanics of the game. It even shows the very short-lived jump pack that is in the game for its lawn jumps. The jump pack is obtained very late into the game. By the time you get the jump pack, you're practically at the end of the game. And when it did show up, I barely used it. The training course does its job effectively to prepare players for the main mechanics before thrusting that weird-ass rock into the thing, causing the thing, making things happen in the game thing. And the environments in Half-Life are pretty good too, even though it mostly takes place in one location, the Black Mesa facility. Black Mesa has a lot of variety to it though. It's got main offices, to a waste disposal facility, to many pools of radioactive waste, desert areas with bombs, and the final area, Zen, which, while Zen is alien and is fine, compared to what came before, when you get there, it feels a bit unfinished in places. That doesn't detract from a very well-made game environment that keeps players on their toes throughout the experience. Especially since for a majority of the game, if something like a bridge breaks or even when a scientist dives through a window, it's all in-engine and not a cutscene, keeping players planted in the action, adding to the immersion. And Half-Life has some pretty dark, humorous moments sprinkled here and there to find. For example, what happens to these unfortunate scientists. And as I stated earlier, the soundtrack fits the environments, and the eerie sound design makes the research facility feel even creepier, with the aliens making creepy ass sounds, and especially the zombies. Now, that's pretty much everything for Half-Life's gameplay. Like I said, there's not very much compared to later FPS games, but it still works. So, let's get into Half-Life's story. And for the time, Half-Life having a story in an FPS game was a big deal. Okay, since this is the story segment, I usually put in a spoiler disclaimer, so if anyone doesn't want to be spoiled for the story, I'll put a timestamp around here and wait a little bit. The game may be 20 plus years old, but I didn't know about it until 2018, so... The main story of Half-Life begins with Gordon Freeman, a physicist working for the Black Mesa Research Facility, arriving on the monorail for a seemingly normal day of work. After getting the HEV on and navigating to the main lab while hearing comments from fellow scientists, with a lot of their equipment going on the fritz after receiving a new sample for testing. Gordon started the experiment with a giant laser, and after pushing the sample into it, it causes a feedback loop called a resonance cascade, resulting in aliens being able to enter the world and they begin attacking everything in sight. It becomes a mission to reach the surface and try and get some help. But when getting to the surface, it looks like the military may be there to help by covering up what happened there by eliminating all aliens and personnel on site. Yay!
I'm the government, I'm the government, I'm the reason nothing works.
At the behest of the scientists, Freeman sends out a rocket so that they can begin operations to fix the resonance cascade. And though Freeman gets captured by the military, they fumble it by putting him into a trash compactor. Idiots. And is able to get to the scientists on the other side of the complex while also witnessing the military being overwhelmed by the aliens enough that they actually start pulling out. Freeman also finds out that the Black Mesa facility has been experimenting by taking live aliens to study, and that this resonance cascade may not have been an accident at all, and more of a consequence of their actions. With the scientists' help, Freeman is able to enter a portal to the alien world called Zen, and find whatever force is compelling the aliens and destroy it. Freeman ends up having to fight through various aliens, including the Dornat, a giant friggin' spider thing, until eventually finding the leader of the aliens called the Nihilanth. Whatever the fuckilith. This thing uses portals and energy blast to try and take out Freeman, but after many shots at its brain, takes down the Nihilith in an explosive finale. It seems Freeman may have died in the resulting explosion when suddenly a man in a suit saves him. This is the G-Man, an elusive figure that works for a mysterious benefactor that was intrigued by Freeman's potential shown during the game. He's been watching Freeman throughout the entire game and can be seen as well, though I missed him a lot at the time. His boss is impressed. G-Man gives Freeman a choice: either take the job for him, or try and fight a battle he couldn't possibly win. The canon ending is Freeman taking the offer and ending up in stasis for an unknown amount of time. The non-canon one is pretty anti-climax, with Freeman being dropped into a sea of enemies with no weapons to protect himself. And that's how Half-Life story ends. To say that Half-Life 1 changed the gaming landscape when it launched for shooter games would be an understatement. It provided a story, tweaks to already existing mechanics and weapon types, an iconic weapon with a crowbar, stellar environment and audio design, and would lead to many other outcomes from its initial release. For example is that Team Fortress used the same engine and was developed by the mod team that made it for Quake, which then led to Team Fortress 2. Then there's the Counter-Strike series, which started as a mod and then was bought by Valve, resulting in the series. Valve would even have additions added to Half-Life with Blue Shift and Opposing Force, showing more perspectives on the Black Mesa incident while keeping the core gameplay similar to Half-Life 1. Half-Life also got a couple console ports to the PS2 and Xbox, letting people who didn't have a PC an ability to play it, though apparently it got overshadowed by the likes of Halo in 2001. There was also a remaster of Half-Life called the Half-Life Source, which, from what I've read, avoid this like the plague. It supposedly has numerous bugs, glitches, and game crashing issues that haven't been fixed, so going with the original game is the better option between the two. But if the original game looks too old or may not play very well in someone's eyes, look no further than the mod turned officially sponsored by Valve game, Black Mesa. I may have a bias for this one, but Black Mesa expanded a shit ton of Half-Life, added more story bits, and expanded Zen and numerous other tweaks in gameplay that makes a case that this is the definitive version of Half-Life 1. It even has numerous mods available to download that add such things like the training tours. It adds some story bits to it too, and the still being updated Blue Shift mod, making this game get better and better as time goes on. Half-Life is a masterpiece. I cannot disagree with that. It's got a great story, excellent gameplay, environments, and sound design that still hold up so many years later, and a blend of gunfighting and platforming segments that make it stand out even more while immersing players into it very effectively. And will I cover the expansion packs? Maybe. Will I cover the sequel in episodes? That's an even bigger maybe. Will Valve ever learn to count to the number 3? The world may never know. What doesn't change is that I am a big Half-Life fan now, and understand why people have kept asking,
when Half-Life 3?
Maybe Valve will finally release it if Half-Life Alyx is an indication. Maybe. Regardless, the game is still great, and is one of those games that someone should play at least once. Now that this video is ending, thank you for watching up to this point. I'm gonna ask for a like, comment, or even scribble to my channel because, well, I'm a sellout. Does Half-Life actually hold up, or am I just huffing something? Will Half-Life 3 ever come out? Is Gabe Newell a Chad of PC gaming and something to aspire to? Or does Half-Life not have enough compared to later games to be worth warranting a glance at 20 plus years later? I do hope that I somehow showed how good this masterpiece is, and continues to be. And I will see you in the next video. G-Man, play us out.
Just step into the portal and I will take that as a yes. Otherwise, well,
I can offer you a battle you have no chance of winning. Rather an anticlimax after what you've just survived. Wisely done, Mr. Freeman. I will see you up ahead.